Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Movie Battleground. As you can tell, I am not Aaron Connole because Aaron, as you could probably tell by the thumbnail, is playing in this match today. This match we got for you today is a number one contenders match between Aaron Connole and Jay Burnz. The winner of this match, of course, will take on Henry in the next title match in June. So I don't know who's going to take this one, but it should be fun either way. Let's not waste any time. Let's just get these people in the battleground. Let's debate. We're gonna introduce first with a record of 3-1 with a knockout. He runs the show. He's the man with the plan, the bro that runs the show, the face that runs the place. He is Aaron Connole. Aaron, how's it going?
There's more words than I've ever used to describe myself. It's good to be here, man. This is interesting. Despite the fact that I proclaim at the start of every match that I don't want to win, I continue to. So let's see if that works tonight.
Hey, you've been right one time.
I have.
You know, in baseball, that's okay. You got here by beating Matt Beer in your last match. How are you feeling going into this match?
I'm very curious to see how this goes. I do downplay myself when I debate. And so I feel like I always talk myself down. And so I feel like winning this and going to a title match would be the kind of thing that would, in my own head, maybe make me think a little higher of myself, because not that I would ask people to do this, but if you go back and look at the older Battleground matches, all time for every match that I've ever played, I've only ever lost 3 matches. 2 of them have been to Henry Sanchez, and 1 of them have been to Jeremy Adams. Jay beat Henry, and he knocked out Jeremy Adams. So on paper, this guy should beat me. If I win, I'm going to feel really good about myself. If I lose, it's probably for the best. But either way, I it's my show. So for the sake of making the show look good, I'm going to bring my best, and let's see what happens.
Absolutely. I can respect that. So let's go ahead and introduce your opponent. Let's get him in here. Also with a record of 3-1 and 1 knockout. I don't have as many words to describe him. He's just an all-around good dude. I enjoy
back to the past Samurai Jack. Oh, hey, what's up, guys? What's going on, buddy?
How you feeling, Jay?
Like I need to rewatch Samurai Jack because of that giant Blu-ray box set over your shoulder.
You mean this one?
This one? I do mean that one. I'm doing all right. I had forgotten until about 4:00 today, even though I'd responded to this chat in the last couple of days, that this was happening. So yeah, I'm here to debate Aaron Connole. Okay, I'll debate Henry. I'll debate Jeremy. I'll debate Aaron. It doesn't matter. I'm here to tell them why their opinions are wrong about movies, and mine are good, even if I haven't seen the movie.
And it's worked for you more often than not. I mean, you're coming off a KO victory over Jeremy Adams, who is considered one of the best in this league. So, what does that do for your confidence going into this match, this number one contenders match?
Look, man, I walk into every single one of these matches, especially like a debate match, just not even expecting anything to happen, really. I'm just like, oh, hey, if this happens, it happens. If it doesn't, man, that sucks. I'll just come back and yell louder next time. I've never even watched one of Aaron's debates, so I don't know his debate style, and it's unfair. As the editor, he gets to see everything that is my debate style, so he already knows how to counter just about anything I've got. That's fine, but I can out-talk Aaron, so hopefully that'll work out for me in the end.
Well, I, for one, am very much looking forward to this, and I do not envy the 3 judges in the back right now. I just get to host, ask the questions, and enjoy myself. Let's bring Aaron back on, and we will get this started. I don't need to tell you guys how Battleground works, but I will go over the rules because, there might be new people watching. Movie Battlegrounds is a best of 5. win by 3 points in a row, you win by knockout. Each round is worth a point. If there is a 2-2 tie after the first 4, we will go to a speed round. It's not a blind round because this is a number 1 contenders match.
Yeah,
I remember
guys.
that
Are still not updated, but close enough.
They have both been given the questions. They have had time to prep their answers, and I'm sure that the answers are great. They will start with a 60-second opening argument, followed by a 2-minute solo pitch. We will then jump into a 4-minute open debate where Jay will yell as loud as he can to try to overshadow Aaron. We will follow that up with a 60-second closing argument. The judges will come on. We'll talk. We'll come up with a winner. They'll get the point. We'll move on to the next one. It's that simple, but it's a lot of fun. I assume neither of you have any questions because you've done this before. You're here for a reason.
Best of luck,
I'll take
man.
the silence as a no. All right. I believe, Jay, you are going first on questions 1 and 3. And Aaron, you will be going first on 2 and 4 because that's how that works. All right. So the first question. There were a lot of franchises and sequels in the year of 2021. And I decided, hey, let's start on a downer. The question that we are going to begin today with, what was the worst sequel / movie in a franchise released in 2021? I am looking forward to this because I haven't seen either of their answers, so I'm ready to hear how terrible they are. Jay, we will start with you. The timer will start when you begin speaking, and I'm going to get out of here now.
I'm just going to say this as plainly as possible. There were a lot of movies that were released in 2021 that went straight to streaming. It sucks. It's a part of what happens during a pandemic. This movie that I have chosen is just a movie that shouldn't have been made in general. Because I'm not going to lie, it's probably the worst movie of 2021. Of 2021. And that's Coming to America. This movie is straight up hot trash. There is no acting in this movie whatsoever. The CGI is trash. Eddie Murphy doesn't even act like he wants to be there. And I get it. It's been 40 years since the last fucking movie came out. He definitely doesn't want to be there. It's all for a fucking lark. This movie is straight up just garbage, dude. There's nothing good about this movie. He drops his own accent in this movie so many times. He should have just dropped the entire script and walked away from the project. Coming to America is the worst movie sequel or part of a franchise from 2021. Period. End of story.
All right. So Jay going with Coming to America. I put up 2 fingers and I just realized my camera wasn't on. So that was great. Aaron, same thing. Timer begins when you start speaking.
All right, so as Jay said, his movie was sold to a streaming service for 2021. My movie went to theaters, and it probably shouldn't have because it wasn't worth it. My answer is Snake Eyes, a G.I. Joe origin. And to me, this is the worst film in a franchise in 2021 because it's bad on 3 different fronts. It's just a bad movie to begin with. Like it's not a well-made movie. It's not a well-written movie for starters. But on top of that, it's a franchise killer because not only was this movie bad, but it was also a box office bomb, which means the odds are something like G.I. Joe is not going to have an easy opportunity to come back into the forefront and ever get a real good movie out of it. And it's also wasted potential because this is a cast that includes Henry Golding, who's one of the most charismatic up-and-coming actors in Hollywood right now. You have the likes of Andrew Koji and Iko Uwais, both of whom have really a lot of martial arts background. And this movie wastes its cast in its entirety. It's a half-assed ninja movie with G.I. Joe ass rammed into it. And what it makes is a product that sucks more than any other franchise movie in 2021.
All right, so there we go. We have Coming to America against Snake Eyes, a G.I. Joe origin. I'm looking forward to hearing why these movies suck. We will go into the 2-minute rebuttal. Again, Jay, time begins when you start speaking.
The biggest issue that I have with my movie Coming to America is the simple fact that they really didn't try to do anything new in this. They were like, hey, let's take Eddie Murphy's story, gender swap it, and then add a whole bunch of just like overly sexualized fucking what's the word I'm looking for? Damn it. Oh yeah, norms to this movie. You know what? It's the only thing that's not normal about this film. The fucking comedy isn't normal in this fucking film. There's nothing even funny about this movie. This movie was just like, hey, how can we take Eddie Murphy's story and make money off of it? And guess what? That's exactly what they did. They engendered the fucking main character of the first one. He's on the outskirts with his now wife. Like, there's so many plot points that don't hit in this movie that go absolutely fucking nowhere, and people are like, oh yeah, hey, cool. My opponent brought up the fact that his movie is a GI Joe killer. No, this is like a career killing movie right here. This is a career killing movie for almost anybody involved in it. Everybody fell flat. The only two people in this movie who I don't think fall flat are Wesley Snipes and Michael Blackson. Those are the only two people that are involved in this film that I think will still have like careers that go on after this. Other than that, it's going to be straight to DVD bullshit. This movie, everybody I know has seen this movie because they loved the first Coming to America. And then they bomb this one because it's not good. He goes back to Queens. It's not the same. The jokes are repetitive. The three old guys in the barber shop, just it tries to bring back this nostalgic factor to a new age, and it just doesn't work the way I think people want it to. Where's my time at? Aha. Yeah, no, Coming to America sucks, bro. It's just flat out bad shit. No vibes. It does not pass the vibe check. But at least G.I. Joe, an origin story, Snake Eyes is good.
All right. Aaron, timer begins when you start speaking.
All right, so I'm going to start off by refuting the fact that Coming to America is a career killer. First off, Eddie Murphy's career survived Pluto, Nash, Norbit, and 1,000 Words. I don't think Coming to America is going to be the thing that kills his career. Jermaine Fowler is an up-and-coming comic actor who has great things in his filmography, like Sorry to Bother You. I don't think he's going to lose his career. Leslie Jones has SNL. Tracy Morgan, his show did just get canceled, but if anything, that's going to hurt him more than this movie will. And you're right, Wesley Snipes and Michael Blackson were funny in this, but the fact of the matter is this movie isn't going to hurt people's careers the way that I think you intend that it's going to. The other thing with this movie is Coming to America, I don't think people actually had any expectation of this movie. People tuned in and they wanted it to be funny, but the fact of the matter is it's a comedy sequel that comes 40 years after the original that's been downgraded from a rated R to a PG-13. Traditionally, when we look at films of this ilk in Hollywood, they don't succeed because the fact of the matter is you're trying to replicate the same joke all these years later. And you're right, it's not a very funny movie, but to say it's the worst entry in a franchise in 2021 when it's a movie that basically looked dead on arrival anyways isn't anything to do with it. My movie is just as bad, if not worse, as your movie, but it's also a disappointment. Henry Golding is one of the best up-and-coming actors in Hollywood, and this movie absolutely squanders his talent with a horrible script. This movie is flawed from the jump because in it, Storm Shadow is more likable and is more relatable as a character than Snake Eyes is. When he has his villain betrayal at the end of the movie and becomes a bad guy, I found myself siding with him and actually understanding why he's walking away from, I believe it's the Arishikaga clan. Because, yeah, they absolutely royally fucked him by continuing to trust Snake Eyes, who's written to be a piece of shit in this movie. This is the guy you want to build your franchise off the back of. Henry Golding's charisma can only save it for so long. Let's not add in the fact that you have the likes of Andrew Koji and Iko Uwais, both of whom have an incredible history in martial arts, and their action scenes are horribly filmed. Why on earth would you go and get people who can actually do martial arts and then never show them doing martial arts? That's a bigger sin than not being funny.
Ooh, I am looking forward to this 4-minute open debate. I'm sure you guys are as well. So the timer will begin when the first person starts speaking.
The thing that hurt Tracy Morgan the most was probably that car accident that he was in, that and the comments that he has said on Twitter. But he doesn't have a career. Leslie Jones is on the outs with SNL, doesn't have a career. You brought up the fact that, oh yeah, well, Eddie Murphy's career survived the likes of Pluto Nash and Norbit. That's cool. That was when he was actively putting out movies. He hasn't been actively putting out movies. He has starred in like 1 or 2 movies and then had a couple of guest spots. His career is going downhill. This is just one of those stops, and definitely the one that people are going to look back on and be like, that's the point. That's when everybody just walked away. Why? Because this is the worst movie of 2021. Your movie is actually entertaining to watch. I don't care about Storm Shadow. I don't care about Snake Eyes. As adults, I want to see that thing because they brought it up in Retaliation and they brought it up in Rise of Cobra. You get to see little snippets of it. And I was here for that. And I'm still here for it. Do you know why? Because characters with complex backstories are better than characters who are just trying to hit the same joke over and over again. I would much rather watch that 10 times out of 10 than watch this. And this being Coming to America.
The characters don't have interesting backstories. The fact of the matter is this has nothing to do with the previous G.I. Joe films. It was a reboot, and it's a reboot that's attempting to relaunch this franchise into mainstream success. And the characters' backgrounds are generic, first off. Snake Eyes is the loner who lost his father and wants to find out what happened. Storm Shadow is the person that has to live up to his family's thing. Even if you're going to say that it comes from the comics,
that's not even the comics.
That's fine. Whatever. If it comes from whatever the origin of G.I. Joe's is, the fact is it's delivered in the most
I wasn't even going to talk
way.
about the origins of G.I. Joe. That's literally 80% of samurai movies, bro. You understand that, right?
Yes, and
the loner and the dude who has to hold
in the most generic way. You can have that background.
It's
and
still
do it in
entertaining to watch, and you want to talk.
How is it entertaining? First off, how is it entertaining to watch?
First off,
because this movie, the action. Hold on, let me speak. The action in this movie is horribly shot. Like I said, you have someone like Iko Uwais who did The Raid. He does his own stunts. In fucking Stuber, you get to see more of his actual kung fu ability and his ability to perform martial arts than you do in this movie. Because everything is hard cutting away from the action, like it's Liam Neeson that's committing these action sequences. How is it entertaining to watch an action sequence that's hard cuts, cutting away from the action, and the rest of it's just filled with CGI? How is that entertaining?
It's more entertaining than watching somebody try to fight a CGI lion.
Okay, but that you're what? Are we doing a shit scale?
No. Like, you want to do the shit scale? Mine would win, bro.
I would argue that Coming to America has jokes in it that do work. Maybe the lion bit doesn't work, but I actually think
it's the stuff an hour and a half long movie
is actually. I think the stuff with Jermaine Fowler is interesting. Jermaine Fowler is a very charismatic actor, and I think the arc with his character of they're building this movie up like he is the Eddie Murphy of this movie, and he's going to follow the same arc that he did, and he doesn't, and we get that switch, and we get to see the genuine goodness within this character who up until this point has kind of been portrayed as this guy who's just here to rip Murphy off and take everything from him. In the dialogue in his scenes when he's with the maid, there's a genuine sense of humor in how he speaks and just the little interactions. Sure, the big comedy gags, the stuff with the lion or whatever, the stuff with the elephant, maybe it doesn't all work. But the fact of the matter is the movie does have laughs in it, and it's a comedy that had zero expectation behind it. So if it has laughs,
everybody had expectations. Everybody had expectations.
Who was expecting this to be good? Honestly, when have these movies ever been good? Dumb and Dumber 2 wasn't fucking good.
Nobody asked for Dumb and Dumber 2. People asked for this fucking 30 years ago, not fucking 40 years ago. But the simple fact of the matter is what it comes down to is it's a comedy movie. It should have more laughs than one every 30 fucking minutes. That makes it bad, bro. I'm sorry. Strike my bad, bro. I'm sorry from the record.
You can keep it.
Judges, the my bad, bro. Don't use that.
Fuck that. Right, I was sinned by my bad, bro.
He's not bad. Okay.
He's not
good
bad.
debate.
He's
good
built that way.
Good open debate, guys. We're going to go into the 60-second closing argument. So, Jay, we will begin with you, and the timer will begin when you start speaking.
I might not have covered it as succinctly as my opponent has, but my movie is not great. From the CGI, again, to the jokes that don't land, the fact that you only laugh one time in 30 minutes and people call this a comedy. You can say that it's a cop-out because it went directly to Amazon Prime. Guess what? A lot of shit went directly to fucking streaming. You can't knock that. It's still a movie that came out in 2021. I didn't tell you to go to the theaters to watch a movie that you had absolutely no interest in seeing because you're not a G.I. Joe fan. That's not on me. And because you're not a G.I. Joe fan doesn't mean that it's a bad movie, because you don't understand the complexities of Japanese movies and samurai stories in general. Doesn't mean that it's a bad movie. It's just something that you don't grasp. My movie is genuinely bad, and your movie is so good that it's still got a sequel in active development right now. So I want to see which one of us is truly in the wrong. You can't go to ratings because we don't do that bullshit. Both of the ratings for these movies are low as fuck. But guess what? Yours is getting a sequel. Mine's not even going to get a spinoff because nobody wants to see it. It's so fucking terrible. Coming to America is the worst movie in 2021.
You can finish the sentence. I butchered that one on me.
No, you're good. I was figuring I was close. Coming to America, worst sequel franchise entry, 2021. Yeah,
I get so intrigued in what you're saying.
I'm
can't so my brilliance, baffle with my bullshit.
All right, and I've discovered a new drinking game for everyone watching at home. Take a drink every time I say the timer begins when you start speaking, because Aaron, the timer begins when you start speaking.
We're gonna kill somebody if we make that a thing. Okay, so first off, I want to start by refuting a bunch of points that you made there. I never said the fact that it went to streaming makes it worse. I just simply pointed out the fact that your movie went to streaming and mine went to theaters. Also, the fact that, and I never said I wasn't a G.I. Joe fan to begin with. I don't think the other movies are all that bad. But what I'm saying is, this is a movie. It's a samurai movie. It's a reboot of the G.I. Joe franchise, and it handles it in the worst way possible. Let's talk about the use of G.I. Joe in this movie. You have Samara Weaving, and I apologize for not remembering the other actress's name in this movie, as Scarlet and as the Baroness, and they feel like afterthoughts that were just added into this script, because they do absolutely nothing for the bulk of their screen time in the movie, including in the actual final sequence. The fact of the matter is, Snake Eyes: A G.I. Joe Origin is a franchise killer. This movie may have had a sequel announced before it came out, but every franchise does that. I don't see that movie ever coming to fruition. Snake Eyes killed a franchise's potential with good casting bits. Coming to America is a sequel that failed, that was going to anyways.
Ursula Corberó.
Thank you. I knew it was something. I believe she's Portuguese, but I just could not think of it. So
I got you, buddy.
Thank you.
Also, don't let this flavor anything. But that was as of 3 months ago that it was still in active development. So go fuck yourself.
All right. We will take you two to the back, and we'll bring our judges on screen. We've got three really wonderful judges today. Got Jake Tato, we got Wilco and McLovin. Is the fake ID still working?
Yeah, so far.
Okay, good. Okay, cool.
I might outgrow it soon. Who knows?
That happens. So you guys have all judged before, so you know how this goes. We'll just go around and you tell me who gets the point and why. So Jake, we will start with you.
Great back and forth round. Jay got the point for me. The sequel and development point worked. And Aaron's counter fell flat on that one. And like the franchise killer argument also went to Jay in the end too. So Jay.
All right. That is a one vote for Jay. Will, who gets your vote and why?
So this, I do fully want to start out by saying this was definitely a very hotly competitive match. However, my point went to Aaron because as great as Jay's arguments were, I felt like Aaron put up just the same kind of game, but Aaron's counterpoint game was definitely higher than Jay's in this round, and so he got my point there.
All right. So Noah, we go to you to break the tie. Who gets your vote and why?
My point's going to Aaron because Jay was drinking a White Claw. So my point's still going to Aaron, but just because I feel like his argument of having a good cast and fucking it up, and the script, the screenwriting, and having wow, my words are not great today. Having people who can fight not being used properly in action sequences was kind of stronger than Coming to America is not funny, has 3 jokes, and is a career killer. But yeah, I guess that's all I want to say. So Aaron gets my point.
All right, and that means that Aaron is getting the first point. Thank you, judges. We will bring.
Yo, who knew that action stars
Wrong
not being
person.
able to do action is better than comedians not being able to be funny? Shit.
It happens, I guess. I don't know.
You get for drinking White Claw, bro. I mean, I don't know what else to say.
I'm trying to watch my girlish figure. Fuck off, dude.
I'm trying to watch your. I mean, let's just move on to the second question. Let's just move on to the second question.
Speaking of girlish figures, no, I'm kidding.
We are going to go from the worst to the best because we're now going to talk about a director who is beloved by many. One of these guys in particular, one of our judges too. Like, he really loves this guy, so I'm curious to hear his thoughts on this question. That question being, what is the best performance in a Kevin Smith movie? Aaron, you will be going first on this one. So as I take myself out of here, take a drink because the timer will begin when you start speaking.
All right. I have to debate a Kevin Smith question. I wonder how that happened. I think Kevin Smith, in terms of performances, the movies I've seen, I actually think he is a very good performance director. I think he does know how to get performances out of people. So for me, I wanted to shoot for something outside of the box, both in terms of the movie itself and the performance. So the movie that I'm going with is Zack and Miri Make a Porno, and I'm arguing for Seth Rogen as the leading character of Zac Brown being the best performance that he's directed, because at this point in Seth Rogen's career, it was 2008. Seth Rogen had spent his entire career basically being the schlubby best friend, whether we're going from Freaks and Geeks to the 40-Year-Old Virgin, to even when he was a lead in Knocked Up, he was the schlubby best friend love interest to Katherine Heigl in that movie. And this is the first time in his career where we get to see him go deeper below that schlubby best friend thing and add depth to a character in a film. And I think Kevin Smith, in his writing and in his direction, does a great job of bringing that out of Rogen and really providing the first movie where we see that Rogen has potential to be more than what he is before.
All right, so Aaron going with Zac Brown and Zack and Miri Make a Porno, portrayed by Seth Rogen. Jay, tell us your answer and why, and your 60-second opening argument. Timer begins when you start speaking.
The question is, what is the best performance in a Kevin Smith movie? And you know what? It was part of my answer when I fucking played Jeremy. It's gonna be my answer this time too, and because it's 100%. It's Michael Parks in Red State. Abin Cooper is by far probably one of the most chilling performances and portrayals of a psychotically deranged individual that I have ever seen without him going overboard. He doesn't need to scream. He doesn't need to yell. He doesn't need to freak out. He is the calmest. He is the smoothest. He is the coldest motherfucker with his words. He outperforms everybody in this movie, and there are some heavy fucking hitters in it. And it's still one of those performances that gives me chills to this day, and that's hard to find in a Kevin Smith movie. It's this, and then it's Ben Affleck's speech in Jay and Silent Bob reboot, but this is the best performance.
All right, there we go. So we got Seth Rogen as Zach Brown and Michael Parks as Pastor Aben. Did you say Aben? I'm not good at reading. That one. That's the other
That guy.
answer. That guy is the other answer. So now
Just call him Mr. Preacher Man.
The porn star versus the preacher man is the debate we're going with here. So now we will go into the 2-minute rebuttals. Aaron, we will go back to you. And I'm not. You know the drill. Just go.
Yeah, it's fine. I'll hit play on the timer when I start talking about the question. So here's the thing. Continuing kind of what I was saying from before. The reason I think that the best performance that Kevin Smith in a Kevin Smith film is Seth Rogen is because I think it's the first time that we get a performance from an actor going deeper in such a way that we wouldn't expect him to. Because I do think Kevin Smith has directed plenty of good performances before, but I would argue that a lot of those great performances are coming from actors where we generally in other films expect them to do that. Like I think Chasing Amy is one of his best acted films when you look at the performances in that. But that has somebody like Ben Affleck or even Jason Lee who have delivered good performances in other films. So as long as they have good direction behind them, you expect them to bring that. I would argue the same for Michael Parks as Aben Cooper in Red State. Michael Parks is a severely underrated actor. He does an excellent job in pretty much everything that he's in. So putting him in a Kevin Smith movie is adding an incredible actor to a movie to help improve it. The reason that I think Seth Rogen's performance is the most impressive from a Kevin Smith film is because, especially when you look at it from the context of when the movie came out, nobody would expect Seth Rogen to actually deliver a fully three-dimensional character performance. Even that same year, he had I forget the full name of the movie, but it's the pineapple one with Weed, where again he's playing kind of the schlubbier best friend in
Pineapple Express.
Thank you, Pineapple Express. Yes. And so with Zack and Miri Make a Porno, yes, he is schlubby, all of that, whatever. But there's a deeper level to this where we are seeing a guy who is coming into himself, right? Through this experience of basically shooting a porno I get what I said, but in the experience of shooting a porno to basically make this last ditch attempt to get out of financial ruin, we see him really start to discover himself, both as a leader and as a person in what he wants, with finally confronting the feelings that he's probably had for Miri for the bulk of his life. And I think seeing Rogen get to go a level deeper than we'd ever seen him before at that point is impressive from Kevin Smith to pull out of him, because I don't think he does that a lot of the time. The actors are usually great beforehand.
All right, now Jay, we will move over to you for your 2-minute argument. Timer begins when you start speaking.
With just the utterance of a few calmly spoken words, this man has brought so much terror to a small town. Not by lifting a finger, not by being the individual who commits crimes. This is the ultimate appearance of a psychotic individual who happens to really just put themselves out there and doesn't have to be over the top and doesn't have to yell. You kind of contradicted yourself and then tried to protect yourself when you said he's always playing the schlubby guy, and this is the first time that he isn't, and then you went back and said that he is playing the schlubby guy and he's still playing the best friend, because you could argue it's not even him who's the main character. Everybody else in the movie, especially Miri being the main focus of the movie, would be the main character. Mine is the main villain of my movie, and I'm not saying that he is the time stealer, no, but he is the scene stealer. He is the individual that you see and your eyes are glued, they are stuck to him because he has that presence. And it's not just I'm going to murder you for your sins and it's this man has a way of speaking. This man has a way of embodying this character. The words that were written on a page are being portrayed in the best possible way. And Michael Parks is doing that because this is somebody who you could believe would be this influential speaker. Can you throw my time up real fast, just so I know where I'm at?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. No, you're good. He is that man that will speak and people will listen. And the fact that atrocities have been committed because of this man makes him probably the scariest, along with his attitude. That's why it's the best performance.
All right. 2 strong opening arguments and rebuttals. Now we will get into the 4-minute open debate. Timer begins when one of you starts speaking.
So I never said that Rogan wasn't playing a schlubby guy in this. I said it's the first time that we get to see him go deeper. And I do stand by that. In every film that we've seen before this, Rogan is playing the schlubby, stoner, comedic relief. And he starts the movie off.
In the 40-Year-Old Virgin. As a matter of fact, no, he wasn't. My man's is not like jacked by any means, but he's sitting there moving TVs by himself. Yeah, is he a stoner? Yeah,
okay,
is he fat? But
doesn't mean fat, right?
Being a lazy, disheveled individual, which I do believe is what you are trying to say, is the exact opposite of what he is there. That's not what he is in Guilt Trip, and that's not what he is in Observe and Report. You want to talk about character depth?
Came out after this movie.
No, they didn't.
Yes, they did. The Guilt Trip, I believe, is 2011 or 2012. Observe and Report is 2009.
Observe and Report is right before, I swear.
Either way, continue.
Anyways, you still have performances like this. Oh no! What is this?
I don't read the links, Mida. I will do you the benefit of the doubt of pausing the clock and giving you 10 seconds. Go ahead.
You're good. I don't. Is it a Sade t-shirt? I delete that comment. I hate you, McLovin. Anyways, you're sitting here and saying, even within this realm, that there's no way that he has the ability to act. I'm telling you that that's inaccurate. Whether or not these movies came out before or after, it's still not even the first time that we have seen him.
You're making the same point that I'm making. It's just the difference is I'm the point. You're making the same point that I'm making, except the difference is I am saying that Zack and Miri Make a Porno is the first time that we've really seen this out of him. Even things that he was in where he, it's a show, but I'll use Freaks and Geeks as a great example. Freaks and Geeks is a show where I feel like even though it's technically a comedy, there are a lot of dramatic moments for a lot of those characters where they get the actors at a very young age, like Franco or Siegel or Linda Cardellini, get the chance to shine and show that they have acting chops. Seth Rogen is really the only character on that show that doesn't get any kind of real extreme dramatic arc. He's just always the other stoner best friend to the group of characters. The closest he gets in that show to show his acting chops is he's in a relationship with a girl where it's heavily implied she has a penis, and that's like the B plot of an episode. It's not even anything that you get time on. So I do agree with you that Seth Rogen is a good actor, and he has shown that. But Zack and Miri under Kevin Smith is the first time where we saw that, and thus it makes it important for his career.
I would still say Superbad is still a good fucking performance from him, because it's the one time that you don't actually expect him to. You expect him to be the cop. You expect him to be the stoner guy, and then it's funny. It's comedic. Don't get me wrong, but it's still out there. But we aren't talking about my movie. We are spending a lot of time defending your movie and why it's not the best performance. We haven't said anything about why my character or my choice is bad. And that speaks volumes to what it is that we have been doing here, besides looking at links and getting lost in the sauce.
I would say with Michael Parks' performance, because here's the thing, I'm not going to sit here and shit on a performance that I do think is good. But the reason that I don't think it's the best specifically in a Kevin Smith movie is because I do think when it comes to specifically talking about performances, I do think that the director-actor interplay has a lot to do with it. To say that it is the best performance in a movie that someone directed, I do think the director should deserve a certain amount of credit with it. Kevin Smith has been very public about the fact that with Red State, he didn't direct the actors. Every single actor in that movie basically had free will to do whatever the fuck they want.
bro.
So
what-
Michael Parks delivered a good performance in
Hold
Red
on.
State, yes, and
Hold
it's a
on,
good
you're
performance
literally
in a Kevin
just-
Smith film.
You literally just described how Kevin Smith directs movies because he didn't want to be the person giving the actors reads. I don't want to hear that this is the first time that he's done it because he's done it every time
I'm not saying it's
since
the first time
Clerks.
he's done it, but I'm saying with other films, he does clearly have more control over the
And this is
direction,
why
whereas
it's the
he's very
best
public about
performance
this movie he
in
has.
Smith's movies because it was so genuine.
Ooh, all right. Another great open debate between these two. I'm looking forward to their closing arguments. Aaron, we will start with you, and the timer will begin when you start speaking.
All right, look. I'm going to try here, but betting odds are I'm going to lose this question. That's what happens when my competitor has a movie that's literally only available for $100 DVD on the internet. But through what I have seen of Michael Parks' performance in this film, it is a good performance. I'm not going to try and refute that. But the fact of the matter is, when we're talking about the best performance in a director's film, I do think it should be a performance that the director had some sort of influence on. And more than any other film, I would say, when you look up Kevin Smith talking about his movies, he's very open about the fact that he had nothing to do with this performance. He literally has said the quote, "I had nothing to do with Michael Parks' performance in this movie." In Zack and Miri Make a Porno, it is a Kevin Smith film to a T. It is what you expect from Kevin Smith when you watch a Kevin Smith film. But I would argue the fact that in that type of a movie, he had an actor like Seth Rogen, who to date had done nothing deeper than playing the best friend who smokes weed and is sort of a loser, and got a deeper emotional connection to the character out of him to get this type of performance, is why it is the best in one of his films.
All right. All right. And now we will move over to Jay. Timer begins when you start speaking.
Kevin Smith has gone on the record multiple times in stating the fact that he doesn't like to give reads to his actors. He likes them to go ahead and do what they like to do. That's why there's so many outtakes for my opponent's movie. That's why there's so many improv scenes in that movie. I don't understand why you're trying to use this as it's a negative. Like, he didn't do the exact same thing for Seth Rogen. He did it with Michael Parks, but Michael Parks is such a fucking valid actor that you get genuine performances, you get chills, and now we're trying to say somehow by being a good actor, it's a bad thing because we're not giving the director enough credit. We gave the writer the credit. He was also the writer for Red State. Guess what? He took Kevin Smith's words and made them incredible on scene in an action sequence in film. He made it amazing. Kevin Smith has gotten enough credit, but we don't give Michael Parks the credit that he is due for making one of the best villains of all time in a Kevin Smith movie.
All right. Another great debate. We will bring the judges back. And as Aaron likes to do, I do have some fact checking. Observe and Report did in fact come out in 2009, and The Guilt Trip was 2012. Zack and Miri was 2008. That's the only one I got because I was listening as well, and that I don't fact check as much as Aaron apparently. But we will go to the judges now. Will, who gets your vote and why?
As someone who absolutely does love Kevin Smith, this was a question that, once I heard it, I was very interested to see how this was going to happen. This was even better than round one, and this was even harder than round one. But I did have to give the slight edge to Aaron for the simple fact that Michael Parks, I feel, does get brought up a lot in the conversation when it comes to great performances in Kevin Smith. But what doesn't get brought up is Seth Rogen, and the way that Aaron argued his points as to why Seth Rogen was, gave the best performance was very compelling. So I did have to give it, the very, very slight finite edge to Aaron.
All right, so that is one vote for Aaron. Noah, we will go to you next.
I did not mean to derail the entire conversation by sending that link. I was just trying to share a photo of Seth Rogen in 4-year-old virgin, showing that he is not chubby. Anyway, my point's going to go to Jay, just because I feel like he had two really big points in there about Michael Parks, I believe his name is, being able to take the script and the words written and transform it into something amazing and just a great performance. And then also that even though this is the kind of directorial style that Kevin Smith employs, for some reason it just works so much better for Michael Parks' character. So I went with Jay.
All right, so we are tied once again. Go into that third vote, and Jake, you get the tiebreaker vote this time. Who are you going with and why?
I'm gonna excuse me. I will echo Noah's sentiment. Give the point to Jay with all Jay really hammered down why it's the best performance without any other all the other things aside. Jay.
All right, so Jay gets the point, and we are all tied up at 1 apiece. Thank you, judges. Impeccable work as always. We will move on.
People hate me with this next round.
By the way, you're 100% right. I had to bullshit with what I had to do, so it is what it is.
I was like, don't let this movie release date's bullshit fucking lose me this round.
So we will.
Had you just stuck with that, I
any-
would have just given up. I would have quit.
For any future competitors who play Jay, Red State is not widely available unless you watch things through illegal means, so just be prepared.
Yo ho ho and a bottle of rum, my boy.
All right.
It and Dogma are the only two that I have not been able to find streaming. But you can find Dogma for free on YouTube in its entirety. So there's that.
That is good to know. All right, let's move on to this third question. I don't think an actor had a better decade, personally, than Tom Hanks in the 90s. Like, he just released great movie after great movie after great movie in the 90s. So question number 3, what's the best Tom Hanks movie of the 1990s? Jay, we are going to go back to you for your opening argument for this question. I'm very excited for this one. I will take myself off, and the timer will begin when you start speaking.
Phrasing, by the way. You gotta work on it, my boy, because that just does not sound right. Okay, what is the best Tom Hanks movie of the 1990s? Go ahead and start. I was like, go ahead and start my timer. This one, there are so many fucking Tom Hanks movies in the 90s. It's a little hard to choose from. Fucking, oh my God, A League of Their Own, Philadelphia, the movie my opponent has chose, the better movie that he could have chosen. I went with by far my favorite Tom Hanks performance in a movie, and I went with Forrest Gump. We all know Forrest. Forrest is the dim-witted boy who liked to run a lot. He loved him a girl named Jenny. This movie has everything. This movie has ups. This movie has downs. This movie will make you laugh. This movie will make you cry. It will make you hate people. It'll make you hate America. It'll make you love America. It'll make you hate and love Dr. Pepper and ping pong. This movie literally has everything I want from a Tom Hanks performance, and he gives it so genuinely. I don't think he's had a better performance, and I don't think he will have a better performance. Tom Hanks, Forrest Gump.
All right, Jay is going with Forrest Gump. Aaron, it's time for your 60-second opening argument, and the timer will begin when you start speaking.
So, again, I believe in, to a certain extent, debating with a level of honesty. So I'm not going to sit here and try and say that Forrest Gump is this like fucking awful movie that I have to refute against, because it's not, right? I have to argue why my movie is better. And I do believe genuinely that my movie is better. And the movie that I went with, if you're good at picking up on clues, Jay very clearly alluded to it, it is Toy Story. Toy Story, even in the modern day, I do believe is an excellent animated film. Despite the legacy that Pixar have, I still think it's one of their best animated films. I guess they only make animated movies, but it's one of their best films of all time. Tom Hanks is a part of that initial class of celebrities moving into animated films alongside the likes of a Robin Williams, where you get a genuine performance out of this big celebrity actor in an animated film with just his voice. You completely understand everything about this character. And that's not besides the fact that Toy Story was a completely revolutionary film that changed the film industry, the animation industry, and it's Toy Story. It's Toy Story. Come on.
All right, so we have Forrest Gump versus Toy Story. I really enjoy both of these movies, so I am looking forward to this. Jay, we will go back to you for your 2 minutes, starting whenever you start speaking.
Voice acting is acting. I will 100% say that right now. I wholeheartedly believe it. I think in 1995, not having mocap, not being able to actually put himself fully into that performance of the character of Woody takes away a little bit from what he does with his voice. I don't care about the legacy that it left. That's not what we're talking about. We are talking about what the best Tom Hanks movie is in the 90s. Forrest Gump is that movie. Again, we're talking about a boy who has so many different disabilities, from a mobility impairment to not being able to think that he is the smartest man on the face of the planet, but still being able to pull everything off. Whether you want to call it plot armor, you could. It happens in a lot of movies. Just look at most main characters from any movie ever. But my man finds friends everywhere that he goes. He turns cynics like Lieutenant Dan into one of his best friends, from one of his biggest detractors to his best friend, to a man that helps him run his companies. He lost a friend. He memorializes that friend. He loves the girl so much that he follows her for 30 years. And then they finally get together at the end of the movie. Is she a piece of shit? Yes, absolutely. But it's also just one of those factors that make this movie as interesting as it is, because there are so many intricacies in this. From the fact that, like, they put him next to JFK in this. They deep faked Tom Hanks into a picture with JFK before deepfake technology was a thing. If we're going to talk about like visual tactics that work really well, that's one of them. This movie pioneered a whole bunch of shit, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about the best Tom Hanks performance. This movie elicits so many emotions from Tom Hanks. I'm talking about the sadness. I'm talking about that melancholy. I'm talking about that heartbreaking. Is he like his mother, or is he like me at the end of this film? Tom Hanks brings it all. Even the Lieutenant Dan, I got ice cream. I just wanted to run. There are so many things about this movie, so many quotes, so much about this film that makes it the perfect Tom Hanks film of the 1990s.
All right. I kind of want Jay to do the entire open debate as Forrest Gump, but,
Okay.
We'll see if that happens. For now, we will move on to Aaron for his 2 minutes. Aaron, the timer will begin when you start speaking.
So I find it interesting that when you're describing the film, you are bringing up things that are flaws with your film and basically justifying them as, well, it happens in other movies, or, well, Tom Hanks' performance is so good that it overrides it. The question is not what is his best performance. It is about the movie overall. Yes, Jenny is a piece of shit character. We spend 2.5 hours watching this man just head over heels traipse after a character who is a total piece of shit. By the end of the movie, you are legitimately questioning why this guy could still be into her, because clearly he's not the dumbest guy on the face of the planet, and he does pick up on social cues after an adjusted amount of time. Yes. But you would think that after all this time, he would pick up on the fact that she is somebody who treats him like absolute dog shit, goes off, and then at the end of the movie, she passes away, and he's left with a kid that, it's like, she's a terrible character. The fact that he gives a good performance that sells his love for her doesn't fix the fact that a large part of this movie is not well written, or at least it's not written in a way that you can root for her in any kind of real way. With Toy Story, it's a vocal performance, and you're right. Voice performances are real performances. The fact that it's not a mocap performance has nothing to do with him not getting into the character. I would in fact argue that for the time, how much he got into the character as one of the first big celebrities to step into a voice acting role, it is incredible what he pulled off. He is so into this character. You understand every facet of Woody, from the good side to the bad side. And Woody is a complex character in an animated film. And obviously, again, we're looking at a studio, in Pixar, who's known now for writing complex films. But in 1995, when they weren't a thing, the fact that Tom Hanks pulled off a performance so strong in a movie with a character so complex, where all he had to use was his voice, which is something he had never had to do before, is what aids this movie on top of all the other great things in it, including great animation, great supporting characters, the Buzz Lightyear element.
All right. So now we will get into the open debate, and I am excited for this one. I'm sure our judges are as well. So let's get into it. The timer will begin when somebody starts speaking.
Every main character in any movie ever has plot armor. That's what plot armor is. It's there to protect the main character, whether it's a deus ex machina in a machine that comes from God to save at the last second. Like, say, I don't know, maybe a firework in the back of a truck that somebody can use to fly. That right there is the exact same thing as him traipsing his way through Vietnam, with the exception of it's more believable in Forrest Gump. Jenny, the villain of the movie, definitely 100%. But that's again what adds complexity and interest. Go ahead.
I was going to say, the problem is, though, is you can read it that she is the antagonist, but she is not being portrayed that way. She is not being, the way that the movie is attempting to portray her to the audience, she is being portrayed as the love interest. You're supposed to want to root for these two to get together at the end. I'm fucking happy when she dies from AIDS. Good riddance. Forrest can finally move on with his life and find somebody who loves him.
So I'm going to ask you a question. Do you know people who have gotten into toxic relationships?
Sure.
Okay. So that is a toxic relationship, whether it was one-sided, whether the belief that Forrest wanted to be with Jenny or not is a toxic relationship. That's something that almost everybody can see. And I don't believe that you're supposed to want them to get together, based on the simple fact that Forrest is kind of a little bit of a pushy guy. He tries to save her. She tells him to leave her alone fucking multiple times. He doesn't do it. It's not endearing. It's a character flaw in Forrest Gump. It's not Jenny's fault. I would argue that doesn't understand that.
The lens that the movie is trying to have you view through Forrest is this morally upright guy. You're not meant to see him as pushy. Now, if personal experiences for anyone on the face of the earth judge how you view the movie, I totally understand that you could see it through that angle. But I would argue that the intent of the movie is to have Forrest be a totally morally upright character. You're supposed to agree with him trying to push her in a better direction, and you're supposed to want him to succeed because she is the love interest. She is the thing that he wants.
You're putting a whole lot of words there that weren't ever stated. It's not even shot that way. But we're talking a lot about Forrest Gump and why it's a really great performance, and you're trying to say that those are negatives. Whereas I never said that because there was no mocap, but not because there was no mocap that it kind of cuts down on the performance. I'm saying that it feels a little flat because he's not able to get all of the intricacies and expressions that he likes to make when he does certain things. It's kind of like the Harrison Ford point. He's got certain tics that he does when he acts, whether it's checking his watch, but your character is just jealous. That's all your character is. Your character is jealousy wrought in life because of the new shiny toy, and he's worried that he's not going to be the favorite toy anymore. Even at the end of the movie, as much as there's a little bit of reconciliation between the two and they're kind of friends, it's still there.
Yes, but I would argue that it's not jealousy for jealousy's sake. It's jealousy because the toys in this world, from the perspective that we're given in the first movie, they understand that their whole existence is just to be there for Andy, to be Andy's toys, to be Andy's joy in his childhood. And Woody has always been the one who is the number one. And so in his mind, for him, more than any of the others and more than anything else, it is of the utmost importance that he be there for Andy. So the idea that somebody else who doesn't even understand the situation that they're really in can come in and take over his role is what spurs on the jealousy. But even through the jealousy that persists throughout that film, we still see that deep down Woody is a good guy. He has moments where he could just abandon Buzz and walk off, but he doesn't. He goes back and he wants to make the situation better because that's
tries
a complex
multiple
character.
times.
All right. As expected, another great open debate between these two. They're in the number one contenders match for a reason. We will go to the closing arguments. Jay, we will go back to you first, and the timer will begin when you start speaking.
I got 60 seconds.
Mm.
Okay. I get where my opponent is coming from with we're supposed to want to trust Forrest, but he's also not the greatest of narrators. And I think that that's what we need to remember is this is Forrest narrating the story to a lady on a bus stop. A lot of people don't take that into consideration. So yeah, it's going to be a little bit shinier towards Forrest, but there is still so much that goes on in this. You still deal with the loss. You still get all of this emotion. The fact that Lieutenant Dan's still there, the fact that he buys stock in a little company that may or may not grow apples, the fact that, even though his mama wasn't the greatest person on the face of the planet, she did what she thought was best. My man's went to college. My man went to war. My man came back, became the American dream, and never lost his humble attitude. Still lives in his mama's house at the end of the movie. This is the performance that shook me to the core when it comes to Tom Hanks. Toy Story is okay. I would argue that Toy Story only hits because of how many great actors are there and in talking in numerous amounts. Not just Gary Sinise, not just a couple of others, but 10 plus.
All right. Aaron, we will move it back to you for your closing argument. The timer will begin when you start speaking.
And I'm going to build on that point by saying when you're talking about the best movie, it's not a negative to have an incredible cast. Yes, this movie has a ton of incredible comedians backing it that create these supporting characters. And it's more than just Tom Hanks's Woody that is a fleshed out, intriguing character. The idea of Buzz, somebody who lives in this existence, but is built to not understand that they are in this existence and having to go through that experience and come out of it the other end a better person for it, now understanding his place in the world, is a really interesting arc to put in this film. I think even the supporting characters in this movie have really strong arcs. The fact that we get to see characters like Potato Head, who is really the antagonist of Toy Story when you look at it. He's the one from the jump who is pushing this narrative that Woody is a murderer. To see him come around, to see characters like Rex and Slinky and even Bo, who have this inherent trust in Woody, and they lose it. For an animated film in 1995, this was revolutionary in multiple ways. Writing, animation, and Tom Hanks is a spearhead of it all.
Another great debate between these two. I hope those watching are as entertained as we are, because this is great stuff. I'm glad I get to be here, as I'm sure our judges are as they come back on. Noah, we will start with you this time. Who gets your vote and why?
Holy shit, the two of you. Jesus Christ. What a fucking round. I'm going to have to give my point to Aaron because fucking hell, he had one hell of a round two, in my opinion. He was able to really expound upon his film. He talked about the complexities of his film and how it made it just such a good movie, especially for the year that it came out. And Tom Hanks is at the head of it all. All the actors and all the side characters that did nothing to subtract from the movie.
All right, so we got one vote for Aaron. Jake, we will go to you. Who gets your vote and why?
I will actually disagree with Noah on this one. It was so tight. Obviously, I can't say enough. But Jay got it with his closer. His closer just got me a little more than Aaron's.
All right.
It's
So
tight.
So once again, as expected in a number one contenders match, we are going to the third vote. Again, Will, who gets your vote and why?
So I will agree with Noah. Holy shit, this was an amazing round. However, I'm also going to agree with Tato that as just how both of them were able to defend films that, quite frankly, I don't feel hold up over time. Jay, aka the letter J, did more to give reasons as to why Forrest Gump holds up over this, over all these years, and really shows the complexity of his film just slightly over what Aaron did. And to me, that's what gives Jay the point.
All right. So Jay gets the second point. We will bring the competitors back on.
I don't look anything like Tato. Why do you keep doing that?
No, I'm not used to the host being on the other side of the thing, so I'm just clicking it instinctively.
I'm used to not being.
Some things you can't fight. Sorry.
Can't fight.
All right, so we will go to the fourth question. The fourth question. I personally really like this question. I'm excited to hear this one. The question the competitors will be answering this time is, what is the best actor-director combo that have done at least 3 movies together? I can already see their answer, so I'm a little more excited knowing what is coming.
This is a speed round, right?
No, it's not.
No.
Shit. Fuck. It said to question 4. Oh, is it after question 4?
Yes.
Yeah.
Fuck. Was really hoping to speed round this one.
Speaking of the speed round, if Aaron does win this point, we will go to the speed round, which I am also looking forward to. But we will go back to Aaron first this time, right?
Yes.
Okay, so Aaron, you will start with your opening argument. I will be removing myself from the screen, and your time will begin when you start speaking.
Okay, so I'm going to begin my opening by citing a very common example of an answer to this question that, spoiler alert, neither one of us picked, but it's to kind of enunciate why I chose what I chose. When people think of this type of a question, the immediate response tends to be, oh, it's Scorsese and DiCaprio or Scorsese and De Niro. And I believe that is because when you're talking about an actor-director combo, you are talking about an actor giving top performances of their career in a director's films, but you're also talking about what the director can bring out of that actor and them getting great performances out of them and standout performances in their movies. That is why the answer that I went with is the pairing of Samuel L. Jackson with Quentin Tarantino. I think Quentin Tarantino consistently delivers good performances or can get good performances out of his actors, but I would argue in the films where Sam Jackson has a major role, he is a scene stealer in each one of them. Vice versa, the best performances from Sam Jackson's career pretty consistently come from Quentin Tarantino's films, with, in my opinion, the number one of all time being in Pulp Fiction. That is why I think that they are the best director-actor duo.
Motherfucker.
It's the one with bad motherfucker on it.
All right. So Aaron is going with Samuel L. Jackson and Quentin Tarantino.
Actually, it's the one that looks like Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Mine's just brown.
Your wallet's shit.
Sorry, Jacob. Are you doing a job?
I don't even know what's happening anymore. I'm just going to tell Jay that the timer begins when he starts speaking.
Hey, I'll drink to that.
I got a Dr. Pepper reference.
Reference to the best movie of the 90s, starring Tom Hanks. I get it.
Yeah,
nice. All right, I went a little bit different. I approached mine just a little bit differently. The question is still the same. What is the best actor-director combo with at least 3 movies? There are a lot to choose from. There really are. You could have gone Samuel L. Jackson with a different director, but nobody will defend how 3 of those movies are good when 2 of them really aren't. I went with by far probably the most underrated choice in my opinion, and I went with Sean Astin and Peter Jackson as in my choice, because as much as there's a whole lot of action that goes on in this movie, there's a lot of heart in this movie, and it lies purely with Sean Astin's character as Samwise Gamgee. Samwise Gamgee is the motherfucking hero of the Lord of the Rings movies, and he is a different character. He shows different aspects of hero-dom in every single movie going forward, and Peter Jackson brought that out in him. This is by far the best actor-director combo with at least 3 movies.
And there we have it. We have Samuel L. Jackson and Quentin Tarantino going up against Sean Astin and Peter Jackson. ERB, if you're watching, make this happen. I don't know if they are, though.
Call him a hot bitch.
We are going to be moving into the 2-minute rebuttal round now. Aaron, we will go back to you. The timer will begin when you start speaking.
So with Samuel L. Jackson and Quentin Tarantino, Sam Jackson is in the bulk of Quentin Tarantino's movies. It's quicker to count out the ones he's not in than the ones he is in. But the 3 that I'm going to be focusing on are Pulp Fiction, Django Unchained, and The Hateful Eight, which I would say are the 3 that he has the biggest role in, and thus why it's easier to argue when you're talking about those films. Pulp Fiction's the easiest to run with. I do think it is the best performance of Samuel L. Jackson's career. I think it's the thing that defines his career. I think it's the moment in his filmography where we get to see just in the purest form his charisma come out. And the movie is known for being very memorable and very quotable. And while admittedly not every exact memorable moment is with Sam Jackson, I would argue the large majority of them are either said by Sam Jackson or come from scenes where Sam Jackson is involved in, whether it's Royale with Cheese, whether it's Ezekiel, I believe it's 2517, whether it's The Wallet, it's the one with Bad Motherfucker on it. All of these memorable moments come from Samuel L. Jackson and the way that he acts through Quentin Tarantino's direction and the words on the screen. When it comes to something like The Hateful Eight, for example, that is a movie that I feel like the bulk of people would put on the more southern end of Tarantino's filmography. Some people may disagree, but I think it's probably one of the lower ones overall. But one of the big redeeming factors of it is Samuel L. Jackson's performance. He's so strong in this movie, and he is so memorable. Again, talking about memorability with a strong performance, the most memorable scene of that movie is Sam Jackson in deep detail describing, forcing, I want to say it's Bruce Dern's son, giving him a blowjob, which is such an insane thing to put in a movie. And Sam Jackson pulls it off effortlessly, where you believe it's something he would do. I respect your pick with Sean Astin and Peter Jackson. And again, I'm not going to sit here and refute and say that it's a bad pick, but again, when people bring up actor-director combos, I think there has to be a level of iconography with it. The Lord of the Rings overall is so well acted that I would say it's hard for Sean Astin and Peter Jackson's relationship to stand out above the rest.
Jay, we will now be moving back to you for your 2 minutes. Timer begins when you start speaking.
There are a lot of great performances in The Lord of the Rings. That I will 100% agree with you with. Don't get me wrong. I respect it as a choice. To sit here and try to say that it's so filled with good actors, one doesn't stand out, is disrespectful. Because everybody gives it their all. Everybody who is in all 3 of the movies gives it their all. Everybody who's only in a singular movie gives it their all. And let's be real here. Nobody just mentions Frodo. It's Frodo and Sam. The fact is, when it comes right down to it, I said that Sam embodies hero-dom in a different manner in every single one of these movies. Movie 1, you could say, you could, if you wanted to, it would be wrong. You could say that by begging to not be turned into something unnatural. He wasn't dropping no eaves. He was just trimming the verge. It's him trying to avoid the hero's call, but he still goes. He is the individual who is hesitant to leave the village. He is the individual who does not want to start the hero's journey. It just happens to be he is the sidekick to the quote unquote hero of the movie, but he's there every step of the way. My man's bodies orcs in Dwarodelf with a fucking frying pan. My man's is there to make sure that they have enough food for the trip home. He is there at Frodo's side every step of the way. And you know what? Say what you want, bro. The most emotional portion of this movie is I can't carry the ring, Mr. Frodo, but I can carry you. Sam putting the entire fucking fate of Middle-earth on his back, walking up the fucking mountain with Frodo in his arms is what heroes do. And it's one of those scenes that stands out as probably one of the best in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. And it wouldn't have been without this combo of Aston and Jackson that it would have happened. That's why it's the best.
We will now be moving into the 4-minute open debate. I'm expecting another barn burner here. The timer will begin when one of you starts speaking.
So, again, I reiterate, the performances in the film overall are excellent. And again, if I'm saying anything, it is not in disrespect to the actors. It is just generally answering the question, right?
Right.
I agree with you that Samwise has an incredible arc. And yes, you're right. Nobody just mentions Frodo. They mention Frodo and Sam. Yes, that's all fine. And I would say that you are correct on that front. What I'm saying is when you're talking about the actual arc of the character, that is in the screenwriting provided by Peter Jackson and company. I think Sean Astin does a good job of bringing that to life. But when you're talking about an actor's performances in a director's films, I think all of the actors do a good job of bringing Peter Jackson's writing to life. And so to say that one is above the rest and that it is definitively the best, I just don't think that what? Sorry.
It's Fran Walsh and Philippa, by the way. It's not Peter Jackson. He didn't start until I believe the Hobbit movies. So if we're going to say
have a screenplay credit on the Lord of the Rings films, but that can be
his wife does.
Either way. I know his wife does, but that's not the point. The point that I'm making is the screenplay is what writes the character's arc, and I think that Sean Astin does act it well, but I don't think he is such an incredible standout above the rest, and that's no disrespect. Everybody's at a fucking 10, but he's not definitively the 10.1 of that film to say that it is the best combo of all time for an actor-director in 3 films, where I would say that Quentin Tarantino and Sam Jackson definitively some of the best performances in Quentin Tarantino's movies come from Samuel L. Jackson. The most memorable moments in his movies come from Samuel L. Jackson. And the best performances and best performance of Sam Jackson's career come from a film with Quentin Tarantino. They are intertwined with each other in such a way that Tarantino's 10
every time he is on the film, every time he is in film, he steals the scene. As much as you know why? It's because he cares, he loves, he is not afraid to show that he has a platonic love for Mr. Frodo. He wants to see the job get done. You're sitting here and I get it. You're trying to be respectful while kind of being a little bit disrespectful. Just underhandedly. You're throwing a little bit. You're throwing no. But he is the 10.1. Do you know why he's the 10.1? Because without him, the entire thing would fail. He is the reason why it works, and you can see that arc growing over 3 movies. You can't even do that because he's the one who ends up fighting Shelob away. He's the one who picks up Frodo. He's the one who walks him up the fucking mountain. What do you have when it comes to Quentin Tarantino and Samuel L. Jackson? Samuel L. Jackson doing the same Samuel L. Jackson thing that Samuel L. Jackson's all over the motherfucker.
Right, but again, I would argue the importance of the character of Sam comes from, if anything, we're going back to the Tolkien books, and that comes in the script and the adaptation of the books to the film. The performance is good, but to say that the performance is so much above the rest of that trilogy that it's the best combo of an actor and director of all time, I would argue that if you want to say Peter Jackson and just in general all the performances in that trilogy, then sure. But Sean Astin is not necessarily the standout of that group, whereas definitively Sam Jackson and Quentin Tarantino have highlights of their career with each other. Sam Jackson is so important to Quentin Tarantino and vice versa that Tarantino's 10th film, supposedly his last one, is coming out, and almost unanimously the only thing that the internet wants out of this movie is to have Sam Jackson in it so that we can see that pairing one more time. Sean Astin and Peter Jackson haven't worked together since those 3 films, and I don't think anyone cares if they ever work together again. It works in the context of that trilogy, but I would argue that definitively,
So because one is stepped away from acting,
it doesn't stand out.
So one is stepped away from acting, and then the other one did a prequel trilogy. They'll never work together again. Nobody cares. That's cool. That's a very biased opinion about that. Nobody cares that it's his last movie. Like Tarantino nerds do, but nobody else
Internet cares.
Tarantino nerds.
Strike that last Tarantino nerds from the record. It will not be counted.
No, the internet does as well. Strike the internet does as well. This is bullshit. I'm calling shenanigans.
Yeah, fine. Strike the internet does.
Yeah, the internet.
I agree with you.
You know what we won't strike? We won't strike the closing argument because that's what we're going to jump into now. Aaron, we are going back to you to start the closing arguments. 60 seconds. Timer starts when you start speaking.
I think in general, when speaking about the Lord of the Rings films, I'm being very respectful towards everyone in that cast when I say they do deliver incredible performances. The entire film is acted on such a level that it is one of the best trilogies of all time. But what we're discussing is what is the best actor-director combo with at least 3 films. The importance of Samwise's character has to do with the script itself. It has nothing to do with how well or bad Sean Astin performed the character. He performed the character well as everybody else in that trilogy performed their character. So to say that that is the all-time pairing of a director and an actor, I just don't think it lines up. It's a good pairing in that trilogy, but it's just as good as everybody else. Sam Jackson and Quentin Tarantino are a definitive actor-director pairing. The highlights of Sam Jackson's career come in Quentin Tarantino's films. The highlights of Quentin Tarantino's movies usually come from Samuel L. Jackson and his performances in them. Shit, Sam Jackson's the only thing that makes Jackie Brown worth going back to. They are definitively one of the best, and between these two, the best of all time.
Jay, back to you.
I think I offended Noah with that Jackie Brown comment. I do apologize, but go ahead, Jay.
Take that into consideration, Noah.
Jay, the timer will begin when you start speaking.
All right. I don't think that it should be a hindrance that I chose an actor-director combo that only worked together on 3 films. Saying that they need to work together on more than 3 films is adding stipulations to this question that aren't there. You choosing Samuel L. Jackson and Quentin Tarantino as a combo and then saying, I only want to focus on 3 is being cheap because you aren't taking into consideration all of the rest of the movies. You sit here and say that everybody is at a 10. I say that everybody but Samwise Gamgee, but Sean Astin is at a 10. Sean Astin is at an 11. Sean Astin is the only person who is thinking about the long run. Everybody else is there. And you can sit there and say, oh, it's all about the writing. From the book, yes, that's where they took it from. It's an adapted screenplay. And guess what? Samwise Gamgee is the hero of those books. It has been stated multiple times, and the fact that Sean Astin was able to come through and put the performance of a lifetime on the pages and still get disrespected by my opponent who wants to say that Samuel L. Jackson is only as good as Quentin Tarantino, blah, 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 blah. Final answer.
And that is the way we're going to end that debate. Blah, blah, blah. Final answer. We're going to bring the judges back in. Again, I do not envy their position at all. I am glad that I am just in the hosting chair tonight.
You fucking take that shit back about Jackie Brown right now. Jackie Brown, no fucking respect. It is underrated. It is highly watchable. Fuck you, Aaron.
I'll agree.
All right,
we can Aaron. I love Jackie Brown.
Again, I don't have any fact checks because I'm just listening and enjoying and not doing that. So, Jake, we will go to you first. Who gets your point and why?
That was some fantastic Sam on Sam crime, I gotta say. Um, the point went to Aaron. He got it with the like the balance and how they need each other more, and then also with the fact that they'll probably never work again, and everyone wants to see Sam Jackson in Quentin's next film. So Aaron got that point for me.
All right, one vote for Aaron. Will, we will go to you next.
I'm exhausted listening to those two. I am fucking exhausted. That being said, one person just nailed too many coffin nails in their opponent. That person was Aaron. There were just a couple times that Jay just did not have a lot of wiggle room to fight back. He fought admirably, and this was the closest to bloodletting I've seen in this match entirely. But Aaron just blazed a trail that Jay just could not extinguish fast enough.
All right, and with that, we have a tie game. Noah, we will hear from you next time because now, as we bring the competitors back, we will be going. Jay, now we are starting the speed round. This is where the speed round comes in. Now it's a best of three. Again, so the competitors know 2 out of the 3 questions. If we need to go to the third one, that'll be fun. The way the speed round works, it's a 60-second opening, like normal, and then a 90 seconds to expand and rebuttal, followed by a 30-second closing argument. Sorry, yawn. It's been a long day, and these two are exhausting, like Will said. And that I mean that in the most respectful way possible. I have enjoyed every minute of this. Thank you for letting me host, Aaron. With that said, let's get to the speed round. The first speed round question that we got, and I believe Jay will be going first on this one.
Yes.
First speed round question: what musical artist or band should have a biopic made about them? Jay, your 60 seconds will begin when you start speaking.
What?
Nothing. This just cracks me up. It's so professional. It's so professional, and then we get to the speed round.
Hey, man, what can I say? What can I say? Thanks for not suing me, website.
Yeah, thanks for not suing us, Adobe. Okay. It's hard to describe a more prolific band in any genre than the band that I have chosen, whether or not it's just for their music, some of it being some of the greatest of all times, to an album that everybody wishes they had the MIB Neuralizer for. Also, just shit that happens in the public sphere with them. I think it would be an interesting story to have a biopic about the band Metallica. They are the one. They are the master of puppets, pulling your strings, and I would love to see the behind the scenes of A, the formation of this band, B, their issues with like LimeWire, Kazaa, Napster, leading up to their downfall with albums like Saint Anger. I think this is something that a lot of people, especially music fans in general, not just a singular genre, but music fans in general, would want to see if it were announced. Metallica is my choice for the biopic.
All right, Jay, going with Metallica. Aaron, your time will begin when you start speaking.
First off, I do actually really like Jay's choice. Because you're right, I do think there's a lot there. Admittedly, my answer is something that's a little more in the vein of the types of movies that we've seen over the last couple of years, but I think that picking someone in that vein and having seen movies that successfully work proves that we could make a good movie out of this. I went with the British singer George Michael. I feel like in the current popular conscious, especially with a lot of younger people, he's someone who's not really known, and I feel like there's a lot about his life that isn't known. So I think you could make an interesting biopic going into the parts of his life that aren't known, whether it's from Wham to the eventual separation of that group to even in the 90s, he sued Sony Records claiming that he didn't have enough control over his own music. And the way that lawsuit went was almost the final nail in the coffin of his career. I just think that the fact that it's someone we know less about could make it more interesting.
All right, so we are going Metallica versus George Michael. Again, ERB, if you're listening, make it happen.
Oh, well, that's just a gangbang.
All right, this just got... Okay.
Giggity.
90-second rebuttals. Jay, starting with you. Timer begins when you start speaking.
Oh, this is rebuttal time?
Yep, 90 seconds.
Okay.
You got 90 seconds to speak. Do with it what you'd like.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's be real. In the end, nothing else matters. Every time I think of a movie that George Michael is in, enter Sandman. This is some Unforgiven bullshit. I just want this to fade to black. Forgive me, I don't have any whiskey in a jar. It's sad but true. I wish to seek and destroy anything that my opponent would like to say about this. There have been some very touchy things about George Michael that were all touched upon in a documentary that had already come out. There hasn't really been anything besides like a behind the music when it comes to Metallica. And I think that like rock fans and just music history fans in general, fans of music, would like to see this happen. So let's go ahead and just turn the page and ask the question, am I evil? Because I have chosen by far probably the best answer for this speed round. I'm sorry, I hate to be that guy. I really don't hate to be that guy. I can't wait to fill this guy with some Saint anger. Find my new single on Kazaa, find it on Spotify, find it on Napster, because I know it would piss Lars Ulrich off, and I'm here for it. There's a lot that could be dived into when it comes to this. I know I spent a lot of my time sitting here making jokes, but it's still, the point still stands. People want to see it. I think that it's been enough time that it's time to bring a whole bunch of this darker shit to light, and now would be the perfect time for it.
All right, Aaron, you now have 90 seconds. It'll begin when you start speaking.
My opponent spent the better part of 90 seconds carelessly whispering about anything but really talking about the actual question. He was just dropping song titles. Look, here's the thing with Metallica, because you're right. There is a lot of interesting depth there that I think could be turned into a movie. The problem with it is how do you approach it? Because we've seen with movies and biopics specifically about musicians in the past, that ones that have such a long-spanning career that Metallica has, there's too much to cover in one movie. So you're either picking a section of their career, and that won't really fulfill what people might want out of this movie. And then if you attempt to try and cover all of it, I think there's too much time skipping and you're forcing too much in. It's going to turn into something kind of like Bohemian Rhapsody, I feel like, where there's just so much happening and we're skipping periods to get there. I see a George Michael movie being a lot like something like Rocket Man, where he's a very similar type of artist. It's not just the fact that he's gay. He's a pop artist from Britain as well. I think he's got enough iconic music that you could make something out of it that would entertain people on the music alone. And I think with George Michael, because his career does span a much smaller period of time with a lot of interesting facets in it, there's stuff that you could turn into a movie. And artists having darker sides to them, as you said with Metallica, does make for an interesting thing. And just because it was talked about in a documentary about George Michael doesn't mean that a cinematic movie couldn't potentially do it better, because I think we've seen examples of that in the past.
Who says 90 seconds can't be good? We're going to move into the we're going to move into the 30-second closing. Jay, we're back to you. The time will start when you start speaking.
There are a lot of things that have happened in George Michael's life and career and personal life that definitely would not be touched on as much as it has been in the actual present. I think that a majority of people don't even care about Wham as a group unless they're in their 40s or 50s. But also like to bring up the fact that Metallica's only been around for 4 years longer than George Michael has as an artist or as a group. So saying that they're from different time frames really doesn't work for me. Metallica is the best choice because it hasn't happened yet and it needs to.
All right, Aaron, your 30 seconds begins when you start speaking.
I didn't say that they were from different time periods. You're right. They're from the exact same time period, basically. But Metallica's career spanned so much longer. George Michael's career as a musician basically died in the early 90s. There's really nothing to talk about as a musician after that fact. Whereas Metallica's most recent album was, 2018? In 2013, they had Through the Never come out, which was a concert film. So the fact of the matter is Metallica has a much longer spanning career, which I think makes it harder to make a good movie about them. George Michael has enough interesting stuff in a short enough career that you could make it work.
All right, and with that, we will drop you two backstage. We will bring the judges on, or I guess, or we will keep you two on. I don't know how this works.
So and the other ones, we just keep them on. Start with Will and work your way down.
Obviously, I haven't watched every match. Will, we're starting.
Start with McLovin. He's the one who didn't get to say anything after the last match.
That is correct.
Who are we
Noah.
I guess I'll go. Fun fact: the football team, the college football team, Virginia Tech Cookies, they play Enter Sandman every time their football team comes onto the home stage. Watch it on YouTube. It is fucking electrifying. It's insane. A stadium full of people jumping up and down. Anyway, besides that, my point's going to Aaron just because of that 90-minute round. I feel like Aaron was able to give more about why his movie would be better. Please don't yell at me while we're in the same space, Jay. So yeah, I'll like Aaron.
All right, let's go to Will next. So we got one vote for Aaron. Will, we'll go to you next.
More people might want Metallica, but Aaron argued why it would be better. Aaron.
All right, so Aaron getting the first speed round point. Now we will move on to the second speed round question. And just a little behind the scenes that we were talking before, and I'm very disappointed in myself for not making this a main round question. I am very much looking forward to this one. The second speed round question is, who is the best fictional teacher in a movie? So Aaron, we will go to you first for this one. Your 60 seconds will begin when you start speaking.
So as someone who actually works as a day job in classrooms, I would like to think that after doing that for a couple of years, I have some semblance of an idea of what a good teacher should be. And to me, what I think ultimately personifies that is Robin Williams as Mr. Keating in Dead Poet Society. He is a teacher that shows genuine love and care for his students. He is a teacher that speaks with them and inspires them and helps them. But he's also a teacher who's not afraid to be real with them in that sense. I think especially as we move into, the more modern era where I think, rightfully so, people are trying to be more considerate of other people's feelings. I think when you're mentoring someone, it becomes harder to say real things that they may not like to hear. And I like that Mr. Keating as a character doesn't always just tell his students what they're doing is best. He gives actual constructive criticism to help them advance and grow as humans, to the point where by the end of the movie, this group of boys, the best that they can be is more well-rounded thanks to his influence.
All right, so Aaron going with Mr. Keating from Dead Poet Society. We'll move on to Jay, whose 60 seconds will begin when he starts speaking.
I've chosen a teacher that everybody knows, that everybody loves, that has permeated not only his own fictional universe or pop culture, but just life in general. I've chosen by far probably a more out of left field pick than John Keating. I chose Yoda. Yoda is no, just Yoda in general. I didn't say what movie. Don't try to put that. Don't put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby.
Go. I didn't fight it.
Yoda, from all of the Star Wars movies, is by far probably one of the best teachers. Is he in the best system? Absolutely not. Is he flawed? Of course he is. He admits it. He even states that failure is what people grow beyond. Lessons are something that have to be learned in real time, and he never sugarcoats it when it comes to his teachings, the philosophy that he believes in. He's never like, oh, yeah, no, don't listen to your parents. It's more be mindful of what happens and be mindful of your emotions and use them to the best of your abilities.
All right. So we got Mr. Keating going off against Yoda. Aaron, we will go back to you for 90 seconds, and it will begin when you start speaking.
So, yes, you're right. In terms of pop culture influence and how what they say in the films may have affected people outside of it, it is easy to say that Yoda has had more of an impact as a teacher than Mr. Keating may have, because Yoda does come from a franchise and Yoda is a pop culture icon and it's a great performance and yada yada, it's all that. I'm going to say something that's going to sound controversial, and it may be so much so that people, it may lose me the round, but I don't care because it's my actual opinion on this. In what we actually see in the movies of Yoda's teaching, Yoda doesn't actually come off as a good teacher, because he doesn't actually make connections with his students. He doesn't actually succeed in teaching any of his students anything. Again, to go with the biggest example of where he gets the most screen time in The Empire Strikes Back, the entire time we see Luke struggle and fail. And yes, failing is a part of learning. But at the end of the day, Luke still defies Yoda and runs off. And how is that a successful teacher? If he was a successful teacher who was actually breaking through to Luke, Luke would have listened, he would have stayed, he would have prepared more. The successes of Yoda's pupils all come from off-screen development. We never actually get to see him succeed as a teacher on screen, and that is why, in my opinion, he can't be the best teacher of all time, because you never actually get to see him succeed. You're just told from off-screen achievements that he has.
Jay, on to you for your 90 seconds. It'll begin when you start speaking.
The fact of the matter is The Empire Strikes Back is not the movie in which that he has the most screen time. If anything, it would be Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, where he does develop bonds with children. I don't want to hear the fact that he doesn't. As they grow older, he separates himself because he is there to teach younglings and teach Padawans. But guess what? The Padawans, the Knights, and even Jedi Masters go back to this man for his insight, for his opinions, because he was once their teacher. He is the teacher who breaks through. I don't know what you want me to say. Teachers aren't there to hold your hand throughout the entire story. Yeah, Luke acts brash. He gets his arm cut off. That happens. Guess what? That's a failure. And guess what? He comes back to him in The Last Jedi, lights the fucking tree on fire, and is like, you think books are the fucking thing. No, the ancient Jedi texts. No, bro, it's about the Force. And that's what he's been trying to teach. And the fact is, it finally resonates. Is it a lesson that takes a long time? Yes, it is. But guess what? It's a lesson that gets through to somebody, and it's a lesson that lasts a lifetime. And it not only lasts a lifetime in a galaxy far, far away, but it's a lesson that lasts and people learn from in the real life. What does everybody learn from your movie? Carpe diem. Oh, Captain, my Captain. Do or do not. There is no try. Failure is what they grow beyond. We are what they grow beyond. Failure, the greatest teacher is. And sometimes you have to fail, and you have to show that as a teacher.
All right, we will be now going to the 30-second closing. Aaron, we will go back to you. The timer will begin when you start speaking.
I would agree with you that failure is a part of teaching, because you're not always going to succeed. And I would say that Mr. Keating also has that, because in Dead Poet Society, one of the students he is mentoring follows the advice of Keating, and the reaction from his father is so bad that the kid sees no other option but suicide. That is not Keating's fault. He was doing what was best for him, but it is a failure in some sense. I am saying that in the context of the actual movies, we don't ever really get to see Yoda teach. We're just told off screen that the things he does succeeds. And by the fact that we don't get to see him whatever.
All right, Jay, back to you for your 30 seconds.
we do get to see Yoda teach. That's the thing. We do actually get to see Yoda teach. His lessons may come few and far between, but the fact of the matter is that they are still there and they still resonate with everybody, whether it's Qui-Gon Jinn, even Count Dooku. It's still there. And the fact of the matter is it's jumped out of that and has become such a socially prevalent thing that we still think of him as one of the greatest teachers of all time. I never said anything about the suicide of a student. Yoda literally teaches, loves, let's go.
And that is time on this one. We will bring the judges back. And this time we will start with Jake. Jake, who gets your vote and why?
How do I reach these kids? That's a teacher in a movie joke for you guys. Jay got the point there. Ultimately just said more about Yoda and was able to counteract Aaron's arguments against Yoda.
All right, so we got one vote for Jay. Noah, we'll go to you next.
It's a long night. I have work tomorrow. I hate to make it longer for myself because I'm also going for Jay, pretty much for the exact same reasons that Tato just said.
All right, that means we are going to the final speed round question. And this is all right. So we are going to the third speed round question. And the third speed round question that I have for you guys is, what is the best DreamWorks animated film?
Megamind.
How to Train Your Dragon.
All right, so we got Megamind against How to Train Your Dragon. I am excited for this one. Does Jay go first since he answered first? Is that how this works? All right.
No
I know
reverse card.
things.
Let AA Ron go first.
I'll hit you with the reverse.
No reverse.
I'm not sure if that's a real rule. And he already wrote the answers down.
I want to make it a rule.
So we will go to Jay first.
There is no Uno reverse. I can't get sued from multiple angles.
Nuo reviewers. Haha.
We're going to go to Jay first for his 60-second opening. The timer begins when you start speaking. I am very glad I don't have to say that very much longer.
I just want to say, buddy, before you get started, every round we get intense, then we have a laugh after it, so may the best man win.
Oh, of course. I'm not mad about any of this. This
has been great.
I do this.
Let's go.
Okay. Shit, hold on. Okay. You have the quintessential hero's origin story when it comes to Megamind. You have him being the Superman character and then being bumped off after being sent away as a baby from his home planet, landing in a prison yard and being raised as essentially just a villain from birth. And he always bumbles and fumbles his way through, has a superhero counterpart, and the superhero counterpart just beats the shit out of him and then one day up and fucks off, so he has nothing to do. This is the story of a man who had essentially lost his purpose, didn't have anything, and still wanted to be the cool bad guy because bad guys, evil is just cooler. Megamind is the story of an individual who thinks his purpose is one thing, but learns that his purpose is something else, and it is beautifully portrayed by Will Ferrell. He spends a lot of time with his minion, and Roxanne Ritchie in a disguise, trying to be something that he isn't, trying to be the bad guy, when ultimately he's the good guy in hiding. Megamind is the best DreamWorks film.
All right, that is Jay's 60 seconds. We will move over to Aaron. Timer will begin when you start speaking.
How to Train Your Dragon is the best DreamWorks film because it is the culmination truly of everything that they had been building towards. I don't think it's an extreme thing to say that DreamWorks has spent the entirety of their existence trying to be Pixar. And How to Train Your Dragon is not only the closest they've ever come, I think in some ways it exceeds multiple Pixar films. This is a movie that's not trying to do the traditional DreamWorks thing, which is have a story, but also be this laugh out loud comedy that half the time doesn't work. How to Train Your Dragon is almost a drama through and through. It is the story of a father and a son who are in a disconnect that can't seem to find common ground with each other. And when the son ends up doing the thing that the father is against the most in making a connection with these dragons, we get to see their relationship tested to a level that I don't think most animated films would ever push it. The relationship between Hiccup, played by Jay Baruchel, and Toothless, a voiceless character, is one of the best relationships we've ever seen in an animated movie just through simple animation. Words.
Yeah, after nearly 2 hours of debate, I can understand
that's all,
a little
folks.
stumble every once in a while. But let's try not to stumble through our 90 seconds, which we will now go into. Jay, we will be going back to you for the first 90 seconds.
Watching a man or an alien create his own villain and then have to do everything, pull every trick in the book out against him is intriguing. If I wanted to watch a character if I wanted to watch a movie from DreamWorks where a son was at a disconnect with his father because they don't see eye to eye and they want to hang out and do other shit, I would much rather watch the Kung Fu Panda movies. Don't get me wrong. How to Train Your Dragon movies are good. How to Train Your Dragon 2 is better. It's the best one in the trilogy. That's the one that you should have picked, but you didn't. You picked this one. And Megamind beats this one just based purely off the story alone. This is definitely a Superman ripoff, but the fact of the matter is this is super funny. You actually get touching fucking interactions between Will Ferrell and Minion, and Will Ferrell and Metro Man, and Will Ferrell and Jonah Hill as Titan. But Titan is this good guy TM who thinks that he deserves Roxanne Ritchie and is given superpowers. He's every fucking incel's wet dream. And the fact of the matter, and it's so fucking dope to watch Will Ferrell combat this because it was something that wasn't being talked about, but it was I'm a good guy, you should pick me. And this is what happens when they gain power. And we get to see how to deal with that, even if it's on a larger scale. It is about presentation, but guess what? This one is presented the best, and it's why it's the best DreamWorks movie.
All right, Aaron, back to you. 90 seconds.
I can rebut with the exact same thing. If I wanted to watch a movie about somebody who thinks they're the bad guy, but they're actually the hero, I'd just watch a Shrek movie because it's the same thing in terms of arc. It's just one of them is actually a superhero. I do agree with you that I think Megamind has some interesting things that it does go towards tackling, but at the end of the day, Megamind is a comedy first and introspective movie second, and it's just not as funny as it should be. For a movie whose 4 stars are Will Ferrell, Tina Fey, David Cross, and Jonah Hill, this movie should be an absolute knockout. And the fact is, it's maybe at the bottom of DreamWorks' top 10, and it's certainly not the funniest thing that they've ever made. It would be topped by things like Shrek 2 before, and I think in terms of humor, it would be topped by films after. Specifically, I think Peabody and Sherman is a movie that's really funny, that is underrated, and is funnier than Megamind. How to Train Your Dragon is, in terms of talking about the father-son relationship, How to Train Your Dragon, I think what makes it unique and interesting is there is the added element of the dragons, right? It's not simply just a father and son not connecting, which is the base of it, but there's the added element of the dragon. I also think the supporting characters in this movie really hold up their end of the bargain. You say the sequel's better. I would argue as the sequels go on, the supporting characters hinder and hurt these films more and more. In the first one, I think they are the perfect balance of being these comedic relief characters that add to the movie and don't take away from it by attempting to inject humor into certain scenes.
All right, we're going to get into the final 30 seconds for each of these competitors. Jay, we're going to go to you first.
Shrek never says he sees himself as the villain. He says everybody else sees him as the villain. There is a complete difference and disconnect there. Whereas I said your best movie in your trilogy is the second one because it's the one that deals the most in depth with its emotions. This one, yeah, you say that it's not very introspective. I would disagree. I think that there are a lot of things about finding one's true identity in this film, and a character like Megamind, who is this bumbling idiot of a supervillain, is able to do it. Anybody's able to do it, and it shows the fact that not all good guys are good, but not all bad guys are bad. I didn't see the timer.
No,
stop,
you're good. You're good. I took it off screen when I shouldn't have.
Okay.
Don't count everything. Count everything he said. He's good. That's on me.
But that's a majority of what I was gonna say. I'm sorry, I got caught up. If that negatively impacts me, that negatively impacts me. Megamind is a better psychoanalyzed movie than How to Train Your Dragon. That'll be my final statement.
Sorry, I was muted and I didn't realize it. Aaron, we're gonna go to you for your final 30 seconds when you begin speaking.
The Shrek comment was in relation to your Kung Fu Panda comment, not the comment about the sequel. And I would say, while Megamind does touch on some potentially introspective things, I don't think it quite dives into them deep enough to make them enough to save the film. It is a comedy first, and for the juggernaut comedy cast that it has, I just don't think it brings the laugh. How to Train Your Dragon is a truly serious animated film with a brilliant father-son relationship that's explored. And on top of that all, it's probably the best animated film that DreamWorks actually has in terms of the visual style of the movie.
And there we have it. We will bring the judges back for the last time, thankfully, because, yeah, this has been great. Exhausting, but great. I can only imagine what the judges are feeling. Before we go to the judges, Henry, I hope you're watching, and I hope you are ready for a fight, because whoever wins this point is definitely going to bring it against you. I'm looking forward to that as well. But before we find out who that is, we have to go to the judges. We will go to Will first.
You know, whoever wins tonight, I hope Henry is shaking in his goddamn boots, because this was an intense match, and whoever he's fighting, he's gonna have an uphill fucking battle. But I had to go with Aaron. Both people, just gave it their all. Aaron just had a couple points that were just hit really, really hard, and that's where I go with him.
All right, so one vote for Aaron. Tato, we're going to come to you next.
Sorry, Noah, did you have anything?
Yeah. There is no Easter Bunny, there's no Tooth Fairy, and there's no Queen of England.
Alrighty then. With that said,
Liz would disagree with you, but that's another debate.
my point goes to Aaron Connole. He got it with the way that the movie pushed animation bounds and that it used the cast better. Aaron.
Your winner by a final score of 4-3, Aaron Connole. Aaron, you took this one. Went down to the final question. I don't think anyone is surprised at that. You moved to 4-1. You moved to a title match against Henry, and as you mentioned in the beginning, he's somebody that you've already lost to twice. So I know we're just fresh off a victory, so I don't know if you're even looking ahead, but how are you feeling about that match, knowing that it's been twice and you haven't been able to conquer that? How do you approach that match?
I am going to give it everything that I have, even though I have said openly the last thing I ever want to do is win the title of this league. I want to beat Henry at least once, so I am going to give it everything in my fucking power. But the man just seems to have my number. The first match we played was back in 2018, and he beat me pretty handedly. And I would say he beat me pretty handedly in our most recent match. And there had been nearly 4 years since we'd last played. So the man just seems to know how to fight me. So I'm gonna give it everything I got, but I don't know how it's going to go. As for tonight, I mean, fucking hell, Jay is a hell of a competitor, man. This was incredible. It truly the best match I think I've ever been a part of. This guy just knows the exact right thing to say. And the thing is, I think he has almost to the point perfected the art of bullshitting this, that he can smell bullshit and attempt to call it out. Because there were definitely, as I said, with the Kevin Smith round, like I could not find his movie anywhere. So I had to try and argue off of watching YouTube clips. And I gave it my all, but he called the bullshit and it worked. So don't, like, all I would say is I hope he doesn't take it hard in any type of way, because he is a great competitor and I would love to have him back because I think he makes this fucking endlessly entertaining. But I guess I must have jinxed myself when I originally started all this, because I said the last thing I want to do is make it this far, and I made it this far. So let's go, Henry, buddy boy. Let's have this match, and may the best man win. Betting odds say it would be you, but let's see what happens.
Absolutely. I am looking forward to that match when it happens. Congratulations on your victory tonight.
I'm like the least miserable winner ever. But yeah. Again, Jay, I can't state enough, bro. Awesome job, man. Seriously. But I will remove myself and allow him to speak.
All right. Yeah, let's bring Jay on. Jay, fantastic match. I hope you are not hanging your head. I know losing sucks.
No,
because that's all I do in this league. I know there can be emotions. I know there can. Just why don't you walk us through how you're feeling right now?
I say something, a half-hearted counter is made, and then I didn't say that, but I said this, when it's saying the exact same thing, and I countered that, is not something that should get you points. When your point is countered, just saying, oh, I didn't say that. Dude, you're on tape. You said it. Like, that right there is one of those things that really gets to me. It bugs the hell out of me. This was a great match. Should it have gone to the final question? I don't know. I really don't. There were some there that I just had, and honestly, I felt like I had the last round. Just didn't seem to think so for some fucking reason. It sucks. And after Aaron coming through and being such a nice fucking winner, I know I sound bitter and I sound like a piece of shit for being fucking angry about this, but I'm a little fucking perturbed. I'm angry about this because I feel like half of my fucking arguments, because I joke about what I do, because I'm trying to have a good time, nobody takes the words that I say into consideration, which means that they just go over people's heads, or they go in one ear and out the other, and nobody actually listens to the words that I'm saying. They're just like, oh, he's doing a bit, he's doing a shtick, when he's actually laying out a fucking argument. And that is tiring to me. Will I be back? I don't fucking know at this point in time, dude. I really don't. Because this isn't the first time it's happened. It happened in my arguments against Joe. Was he the better fucking competitor? Absolutely. But half of my arguments weren't heard. They were just like, oh, Joe said this in a fucking frilly British accent. That must mean that it's good and it's the right thing to choose. So let's choose Joe. Aaron played a hell of a game. I played a hell of a game. Who knows? Judge is going judge. This was great. Thanks for hosting. Sorry it took us 2 hours.
Oh, yeah, that's the least of my concern, because I had a good time with this match. I know that you're angry, and I understand. I understand, because losing does suck. But I hope you know that I think you played a fantastic match. I hope to see you back, because I think you absolutely could be in a title match, and I think you deserve that. I think you will get there, because I think you have the skills, you have the capabilities to get there. I hope to see you back. Just as a friend and as a fan of your debate skills. I think you're one of the best in this league. I don't know if that means anything, but I'm going to say it because I can see that you're angry, but I do hope to see you back. Hopefully sooner rather than later, but I understand the feelings, and I will let you feel what you feel. Again, great match. fantastic match. And I'm sorry it didn't go your way today. But so I hope you guys enjoyed that as much as I did. Yes, we will be seeing Aaron Connole going up against Henry Sanchez for the title in June. The exact date, I don't know because I wasn't told that. But when it happens, it will be a banger of a match. I'd like to thank the judges, Jake, Will, and Noah. This has been exhausting. I'm tired. I'm sure they're tired. Do the like and subscribe thing because that is something you do on YouTube. Like and subscribe, share the matches because dare I say this is probably one of the top 3 matches of the season so far. But I'm going to stop rambling. Like and subscribe, share the video, share it with your friends, and we will see you next time on the Battleground.